Time to check those temperatures. 42 at O'Hare, 48 Lakefront. Your next news update is at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Tasty Catering, bringing Chicagoland together with festive holiday parties for over 25 years. Visit tastycatering.com.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Well, the hits keep coming for the courtship of Hunter's father here. NBC News reporting, in the final year of the Obama administration, an American lawyer traveled to Romania to meet with a businessman accused of orchestrating a corrupt land deal. Romanian real estate tycoon. The lawyer brought in to advise him?
Who?
Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden's work
Straight off his crack bender?
Well, I don't know the timing of that. Hunter Biden's work for this Romanian real estate magnate, when unreported, this is 2016, when unreported at the time, but Joe Biden's involvement in Romania was very much public. He was among the leading voices calling for a crackdown on corruption in Romania. Didn't know anything about it, of course, because he doesn't know anything about his son's business dealings. Except Joe Biden privately contacted the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice when he was a senior and influential U.S. senator to discuss issues that his son Hunter's firm was being paid to lobby on, according to government records, this Washington Examiner reporting. On at least two occasions, Biden contacted federal departments to discuss issues related to Hunter's firm's lobbying clients. Hunter was working for MBNA, as well as this trade association, the Industrial Safety Training Council. The records indicate that Biden, in 2007, before ascending to the vice presidency, contacted Department of Homeland Security to express that he was concerned about the department's proposed chemical security regulations authorized by Section 550 of DHS Appropriations Act of 2007. Section 550, okay. This involves how you deal with high-risk chemical plants and the safety plans associated with them that require DHS approval, including things like security credentialing and training for employees. The Industrial Safety Training Council hired Hunter Biden's firm to lobby the Department of Homeland Security on the Section 550 issue, seeking to expand the language in DHS legislation regarding security clearance and credentialing for chemical facility employees and employers, make it more business-friendly. It's a business trade group. Hunter Biden didn't register as an individual lobbyist for the trade association, but he was one of three senior partners at the law firm at the time. His firm was paid a total of $200,000 between early 2007 and the end of 2008. So, I mean, you start to see a pattern here where Joe doesn't know anything about what Hunter's doing as it pertains to Joe's official acts as a senator and a vice president, but they seem everywhere you turn to be intersecting. In 2007 as a senator with these lobbying clients, in the obviously the case of Ukraine and China, which we've documented in more detail, and now with this Romanian businessman accused of corrupt land dealing. I don't think that's going to go away for Joe, the secret empire problem that he seems to have. But what is the Democrat Party to do as the Hillary Clinton crack-up continues and taking some along with her? We mentioned this last week. Matt Taibbi, Rolling Stone, writing about Hillary seeing a Russian asset everywhere she turns. Jill Stein is also a Russian asset. Yes, she's a Russian asset. I mean, totally. They know they can't win without a third-party candidate. That's Hillary Clinton on this podcast that was reported on significantly last week. She also said, I don't know what Putin has on him, talking about Trump, whether it's both personal and financial. I assume it is. Matt Taibbi, man of the left, writes in Rolling Stone, Hillary Clinton is nuts. She's also not far from the Democratic Party mainstream, which has been pushing the same line for years, not to mention the D.C. press corps mainstream, where we saw Chuck Todd pushing the same line in his interview with NSA O'Brien over the weekend. For more on this topic and the state of Russian assets everywhere Hillary Clinton turns, we're pleased to be joined by Ted Rall, who's a syndicated political cartoonist and columnist, author of To Afghanistan and Back, as well as Trump, a graphic biography. Ted, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. Good morning.
Morning. So when Matt Taibbi is just saying in no uncertain terms Hillary Clinton is nuts, there seems to be this, a fault line, not just in terms of foreign policy between some Democrats as it pertains to Hillary Clinton versus, say, Tulsi Gabbard, since that was the public row last week, but also just in terms of the conspiracy theorizing going on.
There is. There's a major split in the Democratic Party, as you know, between progressive populists on the left and the more corporate centrist third way faction represented by the Clintons. But the Clinton wing has gone so far right as to, on foreign policy, surpass the right to the dismay of the progressive base of the Democratic Party. So we've got this weird situation now where on foreign policy, for example, the president's decision to remove some U.S. troops from Syria, you find that the progressive base of the Democratic Party is more in alignment with what he's doing than what the DNC that is controlled by still the Clinton wing of the party is in favor of. And you find that there's just some odd political bedfellows being created by this sort of reconstructed Cold War revanchism that you see Hillary Clinton espousing by accusing the 11th ranked Democratic contender Tulsi Gabbard of being a Russian asset.
And not only that, but also Jill Stein from the Green Party. She also lobbed her in there. And you wrote but drew a great article, not an article, but a cartoon. And can you explain it to our listeners? I know it's hard to on the radio, but tell us what you did.
Sure. So, it's Hillary Clinton coming home to Bill at their home in Chappaqua, and there's a cat that is a Russian blue sitting on the floor, and she's like, a Russian agent, and his groomer.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Right. That's his handler, right? His operator. Well, yeah. So, I mean, and you make the point in this op-ed you wrote in the Journal about where the party is. You know, if you take Trump's name off of certain statements, like bringing troops back from the Middle East or from Afghanistan, there's widespread support in the Democrat Party. And it seems to me even the progressive faction that isn't necessarily aligned with Hillary Clinton, as represented by, say, Warren or I guess even Mayor Pete, they got a problem because to satisfy the base, they have to be reflexively anti-Trump no matter what he does, even when it runs counter to where the majority of the party is on a particular issue.
Well, I would just say I would tweak that a little bit by saying, I wrote another piece actually for the Journal about a month ago about Trump derangement syndrome and how it disproportionately affects sort of corporate liberals more than progressives. So this is not to say that progressives agree with the president on many things, but he doesn't drive them insane the way that he drives the Hillary Clinton faction of the party insane. It's not a visceral thing for them. And there's some common ground on, for example, trying to keep bringing manufacturing jobs back to the United States and other issues of economic nationalism, and certainly in terms of having a smaller footprint in the Middle East and in other places around the world. There's some common ground there. It's the style thing that's driving the right. The liberals crazy. Yeah,
that's what I want to get to because it's sort of counterintuitive, right? There's seemingly a greater ideological divide between the progressive left and Trump than there would be against the more transactional corporate left. But as you point out, he drives the more transactional corporate left more nuts. So it really is interesting how important, I guess, style or abiding, to borrow from Nietzsche, the regulative fiction of the corporate left is how important it is to them.
It is. I think the style thing cannot really be overstated. And you see, one thing that is not really understood by the corporate left, which at this point is about a quarter of the Democratic Party voters, is that the left is doing pretty well under the term of Donald Trump. I mean, in 2016, enough Bernie Sanders supporters in the primaries sat on their hands and did not vote at all or voted for President Trump as a protest in order to cost Hillary Clinton the election in those three key swing states that we always talk about. And since then, the Democratic Party has moved to the left to the point where Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, between the two of them, collectively control almost half of the Democratic primary vote. And then if you add the progressives, people who are sort of talking left, but not really walking the walk, like Kamala Harris and Cory Booker, that's definitely the mainstream of the Democratic Party. I mean, if Hillary Clinton were president right now, does anybody truly think that we would be in this place where progressivism was the mainstream of the Democratic Party? No way.
Mm-hmm. I want to get your take on another topic. You wrote on this topic, but I'm going to quote from Derek Thompson's piece in The Atlantic about the millennial urban lifestyle about to get more expensive. And this corresponds to another story about millennials leaving big cities for suburbs and exurbs already because it's already happening. Derek Thompson writes, if you wake up on a Casper mattress, work out with a Peloton before breakfast, Uber to your desk at WeWork, order DoorDash for lunch, take a Lyft home, and get dinner through Postmates, you've interacted with 7 companies that will collectively lose nearly $14 billion this year. It's remarkable. It's a very funny piece he writes, but it's a very serious conclusion he draws. This isn't going to last, and the WeWork's disastrous IPO is sort of the canary in the coal mine. Higher profits that are required means urban lifestyles are about to get more expensive. So there's going to be some settling out of some of these tech companies that have gotten so much venture capital and failed to produce. And when there is that shaking out and profitability is demanded, that's necessarily going to mean prices are going to go up for all of the share economy companies, goods and services that millennials in particular enjoy.
Well, that's true. The thing about the tech economy is that the main benefit it has been providing to American consumers has been low prices. For example, there's many cities where you can take an Uber, sometimes for $5 across town for a taxi ride that normally would be $20. But it certainly hasn't employed very many people. Only 250,000 people work for Silicon Valley tech companies. And if you put that in, compare that with a company like GM, which a few years ago, between its parts suppliers and the company itself, directly or indirectly employed almost 2 million people. That's just one company with a market capitalization, by the way, of 1/10 that of Facebook. You can really see that this is a low employment future that we're looking at.
Well, and it's getting lower too as we go. The going back to WeWork, so the SoftBank turnaround plan for WeWork. Adam Newman, the founder, gets $1.2 billion, and they're looking to cut 4,000 jobs from from WeWork.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that really you couldn't find someone for just $1.1 billion.
Well, yes. And I guess the founder has, and his share of the company has certain privileges if they want to get him out and start working this around. But I mean, but your piece at Counterpunch is about sort of the bleak world that may be coming to visit millennials. And in part, it's these topics we're talking about here with respect to the tech economy.
Well, and it will hit the millennials hard, but it's not going to hit them as hard for another 10 or 15 years. The people who are going to get soaked first are Generation X, the generation that dare not speak its name, that nobody ever talks about in these discussions about baby boomers versus millennials. But there's tens of millions of us, and the oldest ones are now 58 years old, and so they're staring down retirement. The people who've been extremely responsible and have saved a lot have 100,000 whopping American dollars saved for retirement, which is not going to go very far, especially since the Social Security system is projected to run out of money by the time I'm 74. I'm 56 right now. I'll be able to take Social Security when I'm 67. So if all goes well, which it never does, I'll get 7 years of it. And it's going to be worse for people behind me. Yeah,
I mean, you make the point in your piece, just for emphasis, only 13% of the oldest Gen Xers have more than 100,000 saved. That's
right, and
that's pretty jarring.
Over a third have nothing.
Yes,
nothing at all. I mean, this is a major crisis. I mean, defined benefit retirement plans are no more. 401ks are a joke. People are allowed to take money out, and they haven't saved enough. And in some fairness, defense of Generation X, they're the first generation, not the millennials, who did worse than their parents, and they were often subjected to job losses and big medical bills that made it hard for them to save money. So we are looking at a future where old age is going to be what it was in the 1970s. People are going to be eating dog food and cat food again.
All right, that's what you have to look forward to, Amy, in just
I'm
a few short years.
stockpile now.
Yeah, all right.
I like
Hey,
mix.
thanks for that dystopian look at our near future. Ted Rall, syndicated political cartoonist and columnist, author of To Afghanistan and Back, as well as Trump, a graphic biography. Ted, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Policies issued by American General Life Insurance Company, Houston, Texas. Not available in all states. For details, visit AIGdirect.com.
Do you have a family? Would you like to help make sure they'll be taken care of if anything were to happen to you? If you answered yes, you probably need life insurance. Now, do you think life insurance is expensive? If you answered yes to that too, you definitely need to give AIG Direct a call. We could find you a $250,000 policy for just $14 a month, which means you could save hundreds of dollars a year.